The NHL. Some of the stuff that they've been caught with, ecstasy pills and all that other stuff outside the game, and some of the other stuff that you've heard. Yeah, there is domestic violence. Nowhere close to what the NFL is producing. This is a problem. And it doesn't seem like it's going to be fixed overnight. It hasn't. Does anybody remember who Aaron Hernandez is? Aaron Hernandez killed 3 innocent people, one that he was accused of. Now, brain trauma has been a big problem in the NFL. It's been a huge problem in the NFL. Now, I'm not saying every single one of these players, Jabrill Peppers, has brain trauma, but who knows? They need to figure out what is right for this league, how this league is going to be able to figure out when these players are doing it during the regular season, how to suspend these guys for putting their hands on a woman, putting their hands on a kid, or doing something of that magnitude, which will make the league look bad. Every time you hear a domestic violence thing in sports, you know it's the NFL. You know it is. And that's a problem when everybody's pointing their fingers at the NFL. I don't understand this. I don't get it. I don't get it. And I don't care how great of a player he is. I don't care how good he produces on the football field. If he's doing something wrong and he's putting his hands on innocent women, and I don't care what the woman did to him, she's innocent. A man is 60 times stronger than a woman. He should not be putting his hands on a woman. He should not. It is a problem. And the NFL needs to figure this out now before somebody gets killed.
Yeah. They needed to figure it out for 10 years, really.
No, now before somebody gets killed, because it's going to get worse.
Yeah, it is. And it still is a problem that the NFL has dealt with when it comes to hypocrisy. Like baseball, you mentioned, like their domestic violence cases, there's still a good amount of them, but they handle it by suspending these guys the whole year pretty much. Like 80 games, I think, was like what Herman got, which was the rest of that year. Jose Reyes, when he got suspended in his second tenure with the Mets, they cut him right away. He was spending the rest of that season. Juris Familia, same kind of thing.
2-1, by the way, and I think the Yankees need to pull Clark Schmidt. I think it's done. I think he's done enough. He's done good for 5 innings. Take him out. They're putting themselves in harm's way again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, another hard hit ball as well. So 3 of the 4th inning, then more in the 5th inning. But going back to what I was saying with the domestic violence with baseball, like they actually know how to discipline it, and that's why you don't see as many cases of that kind of thing that at least they're known of. And maybe there's some in their other countries, Venezuela, Dominican Republic, stuff like that. We've seen issues of those players having those kinds of, just the way their culture is.
And they're going to keep them in again. They're going to keep them in. This is so stupid. This is dumb. This is the only thing that I attack Aaron Boone on is he knows that it's time to take the kid out, and he keeps him in too long. They're going to score. They're going to tie the game, and this inning's going to keep on going. They might even take the lead. He might even hit a home run here and really put the Yankees in a bad position. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say the NFL is the opposite case, where they're very, I don't know if they want to call it selective as much as it is like hypocritical in terms of like there's no consistency with it. Ray Rice got suspended for the entire year. Adrian Peterson got suspended for the entire year. Then Kareem Hunt only gets suspended for, I think, 4 games or something like that season. Now the Chiefs got him. The Browns signed him in free agency later that year. But the standard is trying to be created by the league, not necessarily by the teams. And now you're seeing it with, like you were talking about, Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice had 2 separate instances, repeat offender, and they do nothing. They just keep investigating it. This Commissioner Exempt List is created to suspend guys until we know a conclusion of an investigation. There's going to be another hearing November 22nd, like you were saying. Suspend him until then. If there's a ruling that he didn't do as bad as he thinks, I don't think he did. I think he's definitely guilty of that. But if there isn't, then you can let him play again. It's really not that hard. But yet the NFL likes to jumping. Oh, this guy suspended 4. This guy suspended 6.
He was found with cocaine. He should be suspended for the season.
Agreed.
Okay. It doesn't matter if it was true or not true. There has to be some kind of truth. What he's going to do is he's going to do what his girlfriend is when he does have that November 22nd review. His girlfriend's going to say that he never put his hands on him, and it's going to be waved off. And that's what usually happens. They get off of it because they pay off their girlfriend or pay off their fiance. This is what happens. Greg Hardy did it too. I don't trust that for the situation. There's another one.
And there's the tie game.
Again, Aaron Boone is just terrible managing. Terrible managing.
RBI triple ties it up.
It just doesn't make sense why you leave him in there after he's getting hit. What are you trying to get him to win? Are you trying to
Now
get
we'll
him to
pull
5
out.
innings to
Now
get
we'll
him to
pull him
win?
out. Now he's going to pull him out. Now he will.
Fish, I don't even think a lot of these other managers care about that. I think Cleveland pulled Bybee at 4 2/3 in game 1. Like,
now they'll pull him out, and then they'll bring in a relief pitcher where a relief pitcher is cold, and somebody's going to get a hit, and they're going to take the lead. This is what happens to the Yankees. It's just terrible managing. It's terrible. I knew it as soon as I pull him out. There he goes. He's going to take him out. Just terrible managing. That is Aaron Boone's fault. If the Yankees lose this game, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it from me, Aaron Boone's fault. That was Aaron Boone's fault. I can tell you right now, he doesn't have it anymore. Pull him out of the damn game.
I don't know. I'm sure we'll talk about this as the game goes on, I'm sure. But just to talk about Peppers for a little bit, I was coaching in North Jersey when he was there in the Catholic schools. He started at Don Bosco and went to Paramus Catholic, a rival, and like jumped ship in the middle of his high school career. And it was a big deal back then. Everyone knew he was an elite talent, obviously, that was going to be in the NFL or top D1 type of kid. He was one of the top kids coming out of high school that year. But there were always stories about him with the partying and the steroids and the things like that. And then when he was on the Giants, I thought, yo, look at this guy. Maybe he turned it around. He's home. He's going to make good coming home. And it turns out he's still kind of the same guy. I mean, listen, we didn't know any of the stories about the women or anything like that, but I don't want to touch on it. But look, there's a lot of smoke around this guy his whole life. So this doesn't surprise me. And look, I think this is the Greg Hardy rule, Errol. I think that's why this commissioner's exempt list exists, so that guys like Jerry Jones can't just put that guy back on the field so he can get a couple of sacks and give him the money because I don't care about that stuff. I need to win, even though he doesn't know what the heck he's doing, like Jerry Jones does very often. I think this is like one of those types of rules because technically we don't know exactly what he said, she said, until it goes through a due process in a court of law. So they came up with this as a convenient way not to screw up saying 2 games, 4 games, 6 games type of deal. It's just you're out indefinitely. We'll figure it out later, but you're not coming back. And I guess that's the right thing to do. I wish there was a simpler or maybe a clearer solution for these types of issues. But what I think is that the NFL is really dumb for saying, oh, look at these 3 guys, Von Miller, Rashee Rice over in the offseason, Jabrill Peppers. Oh, well, that's really bad, but we're down by 50% in the last 10 years of these guys getting arrested. So it's not really so bad what they did. Not the right time to try to give that PR message, in my opinion. That's just really kind of cold and calculated by the NFL, and I think they miscalculated. You shouldn't be talking like that when someone was clearly hurt.
By the way, you see him running into the Yankee fan. I guess it's one of his boys running into.
Well, he has part ownership of the Royals.
So. Not part ownership. He has like not even 5%. I mean, give me a break. He's jumping around. He's a Met fan. He should be happy that the Mets won, not jumping around in a Kansas City Royals friggin' jersey. I don't understand that. That makes me even want to see the Royals go down tonight. So let's get him out. Let's get him out so we can stick it.
We need Wes and Patrick Mahomes.
I mean, seriously.
Before we move on, I came up with a solution for all of these, commissioners exempt list types of guys.
By the way, by the way, I'm sorry to cut you off. Holmes, you brought Holmes in. That's the perfect guy when there's a man on third to bring in. What a great management. Look, he's going to walk this guy too. This is ridiculous. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm just sick. I hate watching the damn football games of my teams during the show. It makes me sick to my stomach.
Oh, you should have seen the Week 15 Jets game.
Makes me sick. I can't sit and watch this.
I don't remember I've seen him that angry.
I can't sit and watch this. This is absolutely ridiculous.
Well, let me cheer you up a little bit. I got a solution for all these commissioner exempt list guys. This is what you do. You make them go mano-a-mano with the big Hawaiian and slap boxing. Kaboom! Right in the face. You got no shot. This is what your punishment is. You got to deal with this, and then maybe we'll think about letting you come back. You got to go up against the big Hawaiian right here. Look at that smack. Unreal. Look, in all seriousness, it's a huge problem and an epidemic. I wish there was a simple solution, but they've got to do something. There's got to be more outreach. They've got to be really hard coming down on these guys so that they don't just let guys, have a little slap on the wrist and be able to come back. And I think that's been going on for way too long, boys.
Yeah, I don't think the idea of the indefinite suspension is that bad. Like, make it, send it a message. You cannot be on the field. You cannot be on the premises of the franchise. Ray Rice dealt with it. Adrian Peterson dealt with it. It's not hard to do, but yet they're throwing out all the, like you said, Fish, they're calculating and miscalculating all these different numbers. All right, this guy's suspended for 4 games. Josh Brown only got 1 game, and I think the Giants eventually cut him later in the season. But that was a really bad look for the Giants and for the NFL. So it just makes no sense.
It's an absolute embarrassment what I'm watching right now with this Yankee game. It is embarrassment. It really is. I cannot sit here and watch this team just completely fall apart right on national television. It just, and you put Clay Holmes in. You put Holmes in. It just doesn't make any sense. None of it does. I stick up for this guy all the time. This is a ridiculous move. And if he gets a hit here, and I believe that the Yankees are in a lot of trouble, I bet you before this inning is over, it's 4-2. That's where this game is going. And the Yankees are going to lose this game. And it's going to be another game that, Aaron Boone is going to be shaking his head where he should have said, you know what? He just gave up that run. I'm pulling him out right now before he puts himself in harm's way. It just makes no sense. And why bring in Clay Holmes when there's a guy on third base? He is the worst guy under pressure to bring in. It's a pop-up. Oh,
we got lucky on this one.
There is a guy.
You know what? I think our guest the other on Monday, Jimmy Leyritz, said it best. They're just doing pure analytics out here. They're not letting Aaron Boone just use his eyes and say, "Hey, Clark Schmidt's washed up right now. Let's get him out of here." And maybe Clay Holmes shouldn't come in with a runner on third base. We're going to get lucky if that's the case, if we're getting out. Maybe we should use him, in less pressure situations since he's completely melted out.
And Keith, you say Clay Holmes has been great. Good. He's been great. And every time there is a man on third base, and that's probably him.
It is him.
I don't care what he says. Listen, before he even comes on, because we're not talking about the Yankees, and we're not talking about Clay Holmes. So, Keith, if you're calling about the Yankees, when we get into baseball, we're not going off target for you to get into the Clay Holmes thing. I'm going to tell you this. I don't give a crap what Clay Holmes is doing over the past month. What I do remember of Clay Holmes, when a man is on third base and they bring him in the 8th or 9th inning, he chokes. He chokes. So I don't care. And what I've been watching, you've been telling me how good Clay Holmes has looked over the past month. I could give a crap. So if you're calling about the Yankees, don't call. I don't want to hear about it right now. I don't want to hear it. So put him on. If he's talking,
he hung up.
All right, good. Because I don't want to talk about the Yankees. I don't want to talk about the Yankees. There is no way I'm getting into the Yankees right now when there's other things that we want to talk about. Okay, I am sick and tired. And by the way, I do. He was supposed to call me after he went to visit a friend. We were on the phone with Jeff, and he kisses Jeff's ass. Man, you want to talk about a guy that kisses Jeff's ass? That's Keith. Keith Rooney. I love Keith. He's a father figure to me. Nice guy. Okay. But whenever he gets on the phone, and I put him on the phone with Jeff, he just wants to. I'm surprised he doesn't lick his ass. I'm dead serious. I've never seen somebody go all over the place. I've never seen anything like it. It makes me sick. Okay. I'm just saying.
Would Keith use the skin flute on Jeff, though?
I think he's used the skin flute on Jeff in his own private area, maybe in his own dreams. Him and Jeff are nice buddies. By the way, what is he saying? Right, you love your real G-Man era, Errol. Thank you, Long Brain TV.
Oh, Kenny.
Thank you. Anyways, that's Kenny. I don't know if
that's Kenny's one of his shows. I think his name's Long Brain TV.
I don't know. I didn't even know.
I wonder if he chases geese on that one too.
No, I'm just honest to God. When you see the situation that the NFL has been in, and by the way, look at Patrick Mahomes sitting on his ass now. Yeah, look at him, go running to his friend and hitting him and bumping into. I don't even know who that is. Does anybody know? I think
at first I thought it was Travis Kelce, but it's not.
No, but it's got to be one of his pals. I don't know who it is, but he's not. He obviously knows that it doesn't look good for the New York Yankees. But anyways, I think the NFL needs to look more deeper into this. I think they need to realize that this situation is unclear, and the NFL needs to figure out how to make it more clear to these players that if you put your hands on a woman, you are going to be suspended for the season. And if demanding that they don't do it, and if it's even worse than they think it is, that they should either be thrown out of football or being, suspended without a certain amount of time of pay in a 2-year span. I don't know how they're going to figure this out, but there has to be something put together where these players realize that if they do something wrong on and off the field, that they're going to pay for it. And they think that they are invincible and they can get away. Ask Tyreek Hill. Ask Tyreek Hill on some of the things that he's done. Okay? Tyreek Hill's like a little of nothing. I mean, how big is Tyreek Hill? 5'7", 5'8"? He's going out there smacking people up because he's Tyreek Hill. I mean, seriously.
Yeah,
because he's a multimillionaire.
Yeah, there were 2 of them last year alone. There was that woman that her son beat her in a rout or something like that. Him beat him in a rout or something, and then something happened, and then there was that marina employee. So you're gonna brush that.
Yeah, that story was crazy when we did it, Speedy. The woman, he was like, her son was in his all-star camp, and he was hitting on the woman, and he was like, oh, let's do one-on-ones, and she like press coveraged him and actually knocked him back. So he's like, next rep, like, was like, oh yeah, you're gonna hit me. Like he like actually hurt her, like trying to like get back at her. It's just crazy, this stuff that some of these guys think is okay. It's just crazy. And
I'm not surprised. They're NFL players and they have millions and millions of dollars. Look, Giancarlo Stanton again, another hit. He can buy a hit, but Aaron Judge can't. It doesn't make sense. How does Aaron Judge have one hit in this series? Does he even have a hit?
He was 0 for 9. I don't think he's gotten anything.
No, he has his batting averages. He's still got a batting average. So he's got 1 hit. He's got a couple of walks, and that's it. He looks terrible.
Horrible.
He's pressing.
It's just horrible. It's horrible to watch. It really is. And if the Yankees lose this series and this guy can't buy a hit, what are the fans going to say in the offseason? I mean, this guy is not a winner. This guy can't.
I'm not going to doubt him, though. We saw the best baseball season. Yeah, in the last 25 years this year.
But when it comes to the playoffs, he chokes. And
let's see. Let's see.
And again, the Yankees, when it comes to relief pitching, I'm not going to bet on the Yankees relief pitching over Kansas City. That's what bothers me about this game. It's just if it's one-on-one back-to-back, I don't see it. I would love to see the Yankees shove it down, Patrick Mahomes' throat. I would love to see it, but and I know that it doesn't usually work in the Yankees' favor. It hasn't done that in over the last 20 years. It hasn't worked in the Yankees' favor. Only in 2009, which, a hot Alex Rodriguez, that was what changed everything. So
maybe that's what you have to hope for with Aaron Judge. Maybe he has one of those years, like after 5 really bad ones.
Maybe it's because he's there. The Royals get all the calls now. That's
well,
a big
the one that was
skill.
reviewed for a while was a foul ball. I thought it was, but it was close. But
they just had to call up Patrick and see if it was okay with him. That's all it is,
Yeah. Now the real question: will we get West Cam like we did with the Alabama game?
The Padres lead in the NLDS 2-1 over the Dodgers after winning Game 3 in San Diego 6-5. There was a controversy if Manny Machado fired a baseball in the direction of Dave Roberts, which Machado denied he did on purpose. The Tigers lead the Guardians 2-1 after winning Game 3 in Detroit. If the Tigers and the Mets both win their series, which the Mets did, 4 out of the 6 teams that were number 6 seeds would reach the conference championship since the MLB expanded the playoffs in 2022. The Yankees will pitch Clark Schmidt, which they are tonight, versus the Royals, and Seth Lugo, which we've seen. Both pitchers pulled out, as we have just seen. And by the way, 2 outs, man on first for the Yankees, and they're pulling. Who's that right there? Number 61? I don't know.
Zerpa.
Garrett Cole has been announced as the Game 4 starter for the New York Yankees, win or lose, which is a good sign because Garrett Cole's numbers away are some of the best in baseball. So I think a Garrett Cole away is better than a Garrett Cole at home. So I guess you're going to see Luis Gil in game number 5 if it goes to a game. You're not going to see Carlos Rodon. I think the Yankees would be smart enough to keep him off the mound at Yankee Stadium. But here's the thing. Congratulations to the New York Mets, by the way. Congratulations. I'm happy for the Mets and the Met fans. I know they're going to be all over social media if the Yankees lose and we swept you 4-0 and now we're going to the NLCS. Listen, I'm so happy for the Mets and the Met fans should be happy. But here's the problem with the Mets. And I'm going to say this honest to God truth. If the Mets weren't here, all the Met fans were talking about is the offseason and how much money they're going to spend. That's all I hear. We're going to go after Soto. We're going to go after Burns. We're going to go after this guy and that guy. And we have Steve Cohen. Now, what are you going to do in the offseason? Are you going to pay Pete Alonso? Because I know a lot of the Met fans told me a couple of weeks ago that no way in hell do we pay Pete Alonso. But guess what? Pete Alonso has 3 home runs in the playoffs and helped you beat Milwaukee, and now it just helped you beat Philadelphia. So now, in the offseason, do you pay Pete Alonso because he's a game-winning player in the playoffs? The answer would be, yes, I would. Okay? Yes, I would. So I don't want to hear from the Met fans, we're not overpaying him. We're not. The guy helps you win. You paid Lindor, you got to pay Alonso. And now, what do the Mets do in the offseason, win or lose? If the Mets win the World Series, do you go out and spend a ton of money for players when you don't need it? I wouldn't. But, Uncle Stevie is all about that. He loves to spend money. He hasn't last year, this past year. And by the way, it was probably the best thing the Mets ever did. Now, the thing is with the Mets is they got to stay the course. And the Yankees in the 90s, they stood they stayed the course. They kept their veterans. They built around their youth. What do they call that? The core 4, or I would say core 5. People forget how good Bernie Williams was, but he came before them. I mean, they had a core 5 of players, and they built around those players and brought in veteran players that can play. The Mets should be doing the same thing right now. They have a bunch of young players right now. Nimmo, who's not young anymore, but he's still a player that came from their farm system. They have this kid, Mark Vientos. He looks like a player. Pete Alonso is another player that the Mets have brought, obviously drafted and built their team around. They have players that they're coming from the farm system, and they're building around the farm system. That's what the Mets need to continue doing. Stop going out there and spending money. But I'm not even done. Congratulations to them. I don't want to talk about the offseason until the season is over for the New York Mets. It's a sensational thing. I would love to see both New York teams one go in the ALCS and the other one go in the NLCS. Maybe you see another Subway Series. Who knows? That would be fun to watch. It really would. It would be great for New York. It really would. I mean, as a Yankee fan, I don't want to see it because I don't want to see. If the Mets beat the Yankees, you won't hear the end of it.
Luis Torrens walk-off home run.
You wouldn't hear the end of it from the Met fans, ever. Even if the Yankees win 3-4 World Series after that, it won't matter. We beat the Yankees in 2024. That's what you're going to hear. But nevertheless, I think that if you're a Met fan, you should be excited. I think they match up very well against the Padres. They match up very well right now against the Dodgers. And if it is the Padres, you're seeing the 2 hottest teams in baseball head off to the NLCS, and may the best team win.
Mm-hmm. The Mets have been the hottest team in baseball, I think, since May 30th, and the Padres are the hottest team in baseball since the All-Star break. So definitely going to create an interesting dichotomy and kind of different identities too. Like the Padres, they're scoring early. Like you saw them put like 5 runs on the board last night against the Dodgers, and they almost blew it because they allowed a grand slam after that, but their bullpen held their own. The Padres bullpen has been, besides probably Cleveland, the next best in baseball after that. And the starting rotation is very good. The Mets have done it with like scrap Pete pitchers, ex-Padres, Sean
They're
Manaea.
not scrap Pete pitchers. They've proven that they're not. And Manaea is a good pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
He's been a successful pitcher in the league. They have successful. Quintana has been a successful pitcher for what? Almost 20 years of his career in the major leagues. So to say that they're scrap Pete pitchers, they're not. They're not. I'm so tired of hearing that from the Met fans. That's not true.
And you bring up a good point too with the offseason when it comes to like the big spending. Like I think the Mets in those types of years, a la 2022 when they went out and got
Pete Alonso.
Yeah, when they went out and got Max Scherzer, when they gave Lindor the contract before that, but they spent on all those older hitters. Like it didn't work. That wasn't baseball anymore. It's becoming a younger game, and now they're finally embracing the younger players this year. Besides Brett Beatty, like everyone else that were top prospects have developed, and you even saw them bring up Acuna at the end of the year when Lindor got hurt, and he's gotten a lot of confidence. He had a couple hits in the Brewers series as well. So you're seeing that kind of thing be a real culture change for them, kind of thing too. And I think you need to have them avoid that kind of reckless spending that you're you're going to see the Mets do in the past. And the Dodgers have done that recently. And where has it gotten them? It hasn't really done much for them in the playoffs. They're down 2-1 and they still can't pitch to save their lives. And the Mets are doing it with these gems pitchers that they find.
And they beat the Phillies, a team that everybody thought was going to the World Series and had a chance to win the World Series. They couldn't buy a hit in that series, as well as the Yankees can't buy a hit against Kansas City. And that's what happens when you're a good team and you're a playoff contending team. You find a way to get a hit. The Mets have done that. They have been one of the hottest hitting teams in baseball. So have the Padres, and that's why they're both. I believe the Padres will end the season for the Dodgers this coming tonight. What time are they starting?
They should be starting any minute now. I think it's 9:08 or
whatever.
something.
They're going to be starting soon. I think they're going to be. I think you're going to beat the Dodgers no matter what, and that's what you're going to see in the NLCS. As far as the American League. The Guardians down right now to the Tigers 2-1. I'm not surprised. The Tigers are a surprise team. They've got Screwball, who's been one of the best pitchers in baseball, probably going to win the Cy Young in the American League. I'm not surprised at what you see right now. And by the way, Cabrera's up 2-2. He's probably going to strike out. The Yankees have first and second. And by the way, Giancarlo actually stole a base.
Before we move on, I did want to mention, first off, it's always like one of the hot wild card teams from each league that always goes far. I don't know if it's going to be the Tigers or it's the Royals, but it's going to be one of them. And the Mets are clearly that team on the other side in the NL. The guy that's the most impressive in the playoffs right now is Fernando Tatis Jr. Fernando Tatis Jr. is hitting .560 with 4 home runs, 10 hits and 18 at-bats, just dominating over there. Oh, my God. Honestly, I never thought they'd have a chance at Soto. I thought they'd have more of a chance at Tatis after the suspension, the shoulder issues. I thought he'd be more available than a guy like Soto. Turns out they decided to hold on to him. He became a pretty good fielding outfielder after starting at shortstop, and he's stayed a little bit healthier, and he looks pretty awesome right now. So, and the Dodgers being hurt, Freddie Freeman's not playing tonight in a must-win game. He must be really hurt trying to get out there. Their whole staff is hurt. Kershaw's not coming back. Bueller, like all these guys. It's amazing they were able to piece it together to get to this point.
Bueller.
So it's that. And Mets fans, thank you for blowing up, my phone with all of your celebratory things, celebrating your team. Congratulations. We'll give it to you. I heard it. All right. We'll talk about the next round. Maybe we get to that Subway Series. It'd be wonderful.
Out of here. I would love to see it. I mean, Verdugo lost his spot after Dominguez came back. He earned his spot back at the end of the season, and then go out there and smack another ball out there. I mean, that would be nice to watch. I'm not going to predict that to happen, but hey, anything's possible. NBA insider Mark Stein reports that several executives have told him that Giannis and Jimmy Butler are two next NBA superstars likely to be traded. And by the way, he's out. Stein says Butler is likely to enter free agency next offseason, even though he has a player option for that will earn him $53 million. Reports earlier this offseason said that Jimmy Buckets would not extend the Heat this season after the beef he had with Pat Riley. Reports say many teams will be ready to aggressively go after Giannis if the Bucks start to unravel again with Doc Rivers. The Bucks have only won one playoff series since their championship run in 2021. Well, Giannis is a big name. He's a very interesting name. I thought Giannis would have been likely to go to the Knicks. I didn't. No, obviously, Karl Anthony Towns has always wanted to be here. This is his hometown. He lived in New Jersey his whole life, and he grew up a New York Knicks fan. So, I mean, he's coming home. It might change everything for him. He is a great player, but he could be something even more interesting, coming back to New York. Giannis is a guy that's very interesting and very intriguing because of what he has done over the last couple of years. I still think he's a top 5 player. And I think Milwaukee has, aggressively tried to bring in a player to play with him. Now, they still have, obviously, Dame time there, but Dame is on his final year of his contract. Is he going to stay there? There were stories coming out that he would have liked to go to Miami or go to a playoff contending team. So it's very interesting right now to see the position that the Milwaukee Bucks are in this year. Now, this is their year. If they can stay healthy with Dame and this roster can figure things out and maybe make a trade at the trade deadline, maybe they can compete for a championship. But I think they're done. I think their run is over. I think Giannis believes their run is over. As far as Jimmy Buckets are concerned, it's Miami's run has been over for about 2 years. This is a team that's getting older. Bam is their best player. Maybe they build around Bam. Maybe they go and look to try to build around the draft in the future. But they're still good enough to make the playoffs. So they're not going to have they're not going to get a franchise player unless they get lucky in a draft at number 15, number 16, or even in the late teens. So now you sit here and you're wondering, where does Miami go now that Pat Riley and him are not getting along? And my opinion is, if I was Pat Riley, if this team starts off slow, I'd move Jimmy Buckets, try to get as much as I possibly can for him, maybe get a young player from another roster, maybe Houston, one of these teams that are willing to trade one of their top young players. OKC could trade Williams or one of those guys to bring in Jimmy Buckets because they think they're one player away from winning the championship. And we all know Jimmy is a completely different player in the playoffs. Maybe that's the way they go. But right now, I just think that the position that both these organizations are in, they're very close. I mean, Milwaukee's not in a rebuilding stage, but they're almost there because they have no depth.
Right.
And Miami, they are kind of in the rebuilding stage right now. They don't really have anything besides Bam and Jimmy. I mean, they have nothing. I don't want to hear about, Mr. 3-point shooter and they don't have enough now where I think Miami should look to trade Jimmy Buckets and remember, Jimmy's 35, 36 years old at the tail end of his career, maybe two more good years at best. I think that if you're a Miami Heat fan, you can only hope that they move on from Jimmy Buckets this coming season than sitting back and waiting for it to completely fall apart.
Yeah, quickly before we get Chaz on for Let's Parlay.
By the way, Aaron Judge is up.
Aaron Judge is up. We'll see if he gets a second hit of the series. Quickly, just both teams are in their downward trajectory right now. Not ideal circumstances. You're right. The Bucks have lost a lot of depth. They've lost a lot of size that maybe they wanted to get back from the offensive standpoint. And Miami is just dealing with all these guys just being so fragile outside of Bam Adebayo. Like Tyler Hero, once he got his contract, has not been the same player. Duncan Robinson's contract is really bad right now, and they've had trouble moving it. They got out of Kyle Lowry, which was pretty lucky, but still, it's
Kyle Lowry's old.
Yeah, no, but that contract
is the same player he was.
No, I know that, and that contract with Miami was really bad. They got out of it. He went to Philly last year, but Pat Riley's gonna have to do a lot of masterclass in order to make that kind of thing work. As far as the Bucks, yeah, they really need to figure something out to either keep him there, get a player that he wants to play with to stay there, or they're gonna have to trade him next offseason easily.
The Royals are bringing in a starting pitcher to face Judge Brady Singer right now. That's interesting.
Really? Uh-huh.
Yeah. But I'll say this: Jimmy Buckets, it's a real thing. The playoff Jimmy mentality. For all I was down in Florida, and by the way, everyone in Florida, really be safe right now. I hope you guys are able to evacuate everyone on the west coast of Florida. A bunch of friends out there, guys. I know I've heard from most of you. If I haven't heard from you, but all our best wishes for you. Please stay safe with the Hurricane Milton out there. But look, Jimmy Buckets, he's getting older. He's almost my age. It's amazing he's been able to be this good this long. He's getting hurt a little bit more now. It should not be surprising. But this is the team that has the best coach in the league in Eric Spoelstra. And Eric Spoelstra isn't going to just say, oh, let's tear it down. It's going to be a reload type of a thing. They always seem to find a way to hover around playoff contention no matter what, because they have great coaching and they have a great front office with Pat Riley. They will figure it out. Jimmy Buckets will get moved. They'll get some kind of future asset that's ready sooner than people think, because they just know how to craft guys. I really like what they did with Jaquez in the draft not so long ago. He was a nice steal. I think it was just after the lottery they got him, or his late lottery, one of the two. And he's, they just find these guys and they develop them. So it's not surprising that they're always in contention. They need to move on from him. As far as the Bucks, I don't know about Giannis. Giannis is such a great player. He's signed long-term, but Dame is near the end as well. Same as Jimmy Buckets, maybe not as old, but very close. And those guys, when they're undersized guards like Dame is, it goes faster than a guy like Jimmy Buckets. So I'm really concerned for the Bucks. Giannis will take him as far as he can. But again, Giannis has some limitations late in the game with not being a great shooter. So you wonder what's going to happen. Like you said, Errol, I thought he was a good candidate for the Knicks before Towns was traded to them. It just would have cost a lot more than what the Knicks ended up paying for Towns. So I'm glad they didn't have to give up more than that. And I'm glad the Knicks look like a real top 3 contender, according to Vegas, number 3 odds to win the NBA championships. I don't know when the last time that was.
We call this segment Let's Parlay.
It's time for Let's Parlay.
All right, Chaz. Wes is over there at the Kansas City Royals game, enjoying himself, getting drunk, probably doing other things in the boys' bathroom.
He did send in some picks, though, so I will give them out to you too, Chaz.
Oh, good for him. Anyways, hopefully they lose because I don't want to hear him after the game. But anyways, Chaz, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. Everybody can hear me okay? I guess it's that game's tied at 2, right?
Yes, we hear you. Yes, the Padres. Yes.
No, I'm talking about the Yankees game. It's tied at 2.
Yes, it's tied at 2.
Yeah, I've been watching. My kid's at the game tonight, so he's at game. What's it? Game 4. So I'm watching his dog. So I had to go pick up his dog. But the Mets game was amazing, wasn't it? Holy cow, just amazing.
Good for the Mets.
So you guys don't know. You know, as you know, I'm back from back there, and if you knew me as a kid, I was the diehard Mets fan. But there was a strike once, and the guy that was pissing and moaning, they showed his batting average. He was making like $980. He was making $980,000. He was batting like 178, and that was it. I was done with baseball from that moment. I only own one hat, as you guys know, probably because you've heard me say the story. It was a Mets hat, and then it became an Aztecs hat, and it remains an Aztecs hat. But it was definitely an exciting game. There's no doubt about it.
There's no question, and if you're again a Met fan, you should be excited. The Mets are heading to the the NLCS and have a chance possibly to go to the World Series. They haven't been there since 2000.
Well, you know, they could be showing up right here, right?
Yeah, well, maybe. I mean, obviously, if
the Padres got to win 1 of 2. You got to win 1 of 2. You'd rather win tonight, though. I think if you were a Padre, you know what? Because if you go back to LA, they'll throw things at you.
Yeah, I don't even want to get into that. But are you ready to make your picks?
I am. So what I did last week, remember, Wednesdays just ain't working for me. God bless those guys that can be ready on Wednesday. When I was getting paid to write, I was ready on Wednesday because I had no choice. But right now, I'm just chasing my tail. But so last week, I ended up going 6-4. But Petey, you might remember there was the second half that went over in a game, and I won it on a weird play. What was it? Was it a 2-point conversion? That's what it was. It was on a 2-point conversion.
Tell me about that. Yep.
Yeah. So I did the same thing this week. Was with, there was a coin flip on the trends that I was betting, but the one that came up twice was San Francisco in the first half, team total to score, and I won it on a blocked field goal. Now, how many blocked field goals were there this weekend? 2, right? Came back for touchdowns, I think. You never see that on the guys that get paid on Sundays, you know. Yes. So it's funny because it really becomes the whole how you bet versus who you bet. You got to pick and choose your numbers and catch. I mean, like last night you saw with Wes, I caught over 10.5 and under 15.5 in that game. They scored 11 runs and then they didn't score again. So that right there is part of the reason why I really do love sports betting. But I came up with 4 plays for you. These are my 4 abbreviated plays. I will have these plays. They may not be big plays by the time I finish handicapping, but I'm starting with Jacksonville's team total under. That's for the game. The reason I'm doing that is because last week we had Chicago that in the game, they allowed 21 or less in 10 of 10. It's now 11 of 11. And so they're playing Chicago. Jacksonville, as you know, his offense is sputtering to say the least. So we're going to stick with that one. And then we're coming right back with San Francisco team total over. Now, you guys know Vicky's a big Baltimore fan, and we watch the games together. So she didn't understand why I was so excited on that block punt for a touchdown, a block field goal for a touchdown, when I didn't care after that. So the game was on in the second half, and I wanted nothing to do with it because the bet was only for the first half. And guess what? I look like a genius because I don't think the 49ers scored again. I'm going with the over in the Washington-Baltimore game for 2 reasons. You may know that Vicky's a big Baltimore fan, and they got no defense. People are running up and down the field on them, and on her, on them. And Washington just came out of Cleveland. That was an over, but that was a Cleveland trend. I'm sticking with the over in this game. The kid is playing real well. I mean, he looks like, Cy Young winner or what you call it, a Heisman winner. He's doing all the right things. That team has been down. Remember, I'm old enough to remember when Washington was good. I don't think either you two could do that. And then finally, I got Detroit. Now, Detroit is a game. This is the only game of these four that has nothing to do with the trends because I haven't looked yet. So I glanced while I was listening to Eric. Yeah, I've always liked that guy. He's got a good tone. He's smart. He says good things. I just really enjoyed it. So, but while he was talking, I was looking. And Detroit's 10-2 against the spread on the road. But here's the thing. This is a pissed at you bet because Dallas screwed me. I had Pittsburgh in the second half. What was that, Monday night? I love football season. We got football every day for what, 45 days now or something?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because there's Tuesday back action, Wednesday's the other action. But I had Pittsburgh, and I just needed the game to end, and they let Dallas march down the field, and Dallas scored and won, and I lost both bets. I lost the second half under, and I lost the Pittsburgh bet. So I'm coming back with Detroit, just hoping that Dallas will come back to reality because I'm not a big fan of the Cowboys. So those are my 4 plays.
All right, so Wes had these 5 plays, actually. He has the Browns plus 8.5. He's got the Bears minus 2.5. He's got his Ohio State Buckeyes over 13.5 in the first half. He's got Rutgers minus 2.5, and he's got the New York Jets on the money line.
I think I would bet the Jets too. I would bet. I've said it already. I think honestly, and I know why he went with the Jets. New coach, and usually that's the way he goes when you have a new coach.
You get a bump. You get a bump, no doubt.
So, and I think that the Jets are going to play for Ulbrich, which they haven't been doing over the last couple of weeks for Saleh. I think they're going to be a different team, a different offense going in to the next game on Monday Night Football with Buffalo. But Chaz, thank you for joining us as always.
Hey, well, one quick before I let you go. Saturday, we've got our annual 2 games, 1 day. I didn't go last year because I was in New Orleans at the Tulane game, but we're going up in the morning. We're going to go to the Coliseum. We're going to see USC and Penn State, and then we're going to the Rose Bowl in the evening, and we're going to see Minnesota and the Bruins, and we're excited.
Mm-hmm. Very nice.
That's a 4-team parlay. I got to figure out what it is, though.
Chaz, thank you.
Always be cashing, guys.
Let's go to a quick break. When we come back, I know he's been waiting patiently. We will be talking to the Texas Rangers AAA infielder Jack Biggers.
This is the Sports Loudmouth.
631-672-3108 is the number to call. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Merrill Marks, my co-host, Speedy. Petey, go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all those shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth with me and Speedy Petey every single Mondays and Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings for all those shows is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. He's been waiting patiently, and I'd like to invite him in as he's probably watching the Yankee game too. I don't know what. I'm going to just let everybody know. Yes, the Yankees are up 3-2, but it's still going to be the bottom of the 8th, and they have 6 more outs they need to get out. So before the Yankees win this game, if they win this game. So I'm not going to bet on it yet, but let's just hope it works out. But anyways, we're now talking to Texas Rangers AAA infielder, our friend, Jax Bigger. Jax, what's up, buddy?
What's up, fellas? Good to see y'all again.
Well, it's good to see you, my friend, as your Texas Rangers won a World Series last year. They didn't make the playoffs this year, so maybe we'll see you in the majors a lot sooner than later. But, it's so crazy watching playoff baseball. You can't predict. I think it's the only sport you cannot predict when a team gets into the playoffs, how far they're going to go, if they're going to win, or they're going to be one and done in a wild card series. You just don't know, and baseball is so unpredictable. Are you surprised the way the playoffs have gone so far? Are you surprised right now that all the number ones could be knocked out in the NLDS and the NLCS? I mean the NLDS. I'm sorry,
right.
I'm talking about divisional series.
Yeah, very not very surprised because I feel like playoffs is just who's ever hot. And every team in the playoffs is a good team, obviously. But it's just weird this year. Like, the Yankees are the 1 seed and the Dodgers are the 1 seed. And we both know that, like, they're the best in their side for sure. But then it's like, okay, well, the Padres are playing the Dodgers and they were just 2 games back from the regular season record of the Dodgers. So it's like there's not really like a huge gap between like the top and the bottom who are in the playoffs. And so I think just who's ever hot is going to get rolling, and baseball's baseball. And now you got the Mets who were like this close from not making playoffs, and now they're going to the NLCS. So it's crazy. It really is crazy.
They get hot, and the Mets got
hot.
hot at the right time. I think the last 2 months of baseball, besides the Padres, they were just lightning hot. And wouldn't it be fitting that the 2 hottest teams in baseball going into the playoffs, the Padres and the Mets, meet up at the NLCS, and then I wouldn't be surprised if you see the Royals in Detroit go to the ALCS, and who would have thought Detroit versus Kansas City in
Right.
the ALCS to fight to go and represent the American League. It's unusual, but it's the only sport it would happen. It wouldn't happen in hockey. I'm sorry, hockey fans. And everybody keeps saying hockey's the hardest sport to win a championship. That is not true. I absolutely believe baseball is the hardest just because of the way baseball is set up, and it's really about who's hot at the proper time.
Yep. Hockey's tough, but I don't know much about hockey. I'm a Texas guy, so it's not cold enough for me to have my knowledge wrapped around hockey at all.
So in addition to the lower seed movement, we've also seen younger teams be a big movement ever since the lockout, the new rules in place for even some of the drafts. And you being a younger player who was on an organization that won a World Series, do you think that movement is going across baseball where you're seeing teams like the Mets, who were once an old team, now be a young team and do well, and the Padres, same kind of thing?
I think so. I think just the game is so much younger now because I feel like teams don't want to pay certain players anymore who are older. The older guys, they require more money. Whereas you call up the 24-year-old who's a rookie, you're paying him from age 24 to age 27, 28, the league minimum. Whereas you got the 35 to 37-year-old, you got to pay him probably 7-8 mil for the year. So not saying who's better, vice versa, or whatever. Just saying I think the owners are starting to save a little money, and the GMs are on board with that too. And I could be wrong. I'm usually wrong, so don't quote me. But that's just what it seems like the game's trending to be right now.
We are talking to Texas Rangers AAA infielder Jax Biggers. Jax, we talk about baseball, and baseball is so hard to predict. And again, I think the hardest thing to do in professional sports is go up to the plate and guess what pitch is coming. I've never played in the minor leagues. I've never played in the majors. I did play, high school ball. I've traveled over the years playing baseball. I've always find it very difficult when you see a guy throw, when you're trying to predict when a curveball's coming, when a changeup's coming, when a fastball's coming. It's so unpredictable. What is it like standing up at the plate and sitting, and you're waiting, you're sitting on a fastball, you're trying to sit on a curveball, and it doesn't come?
Yeah, you just if you're gonna sit on a pitch, you hope that you guess right. If you guess right and it's a strike, you want to try to get it, but it's just hard. You really can't guess anymore, or you can guess, but for me, guessing's never worked out well for me. I just try to be on time for the fastball and just react to anything slower. But if I'm on time for the curveball and they throw a fastball, I got no chance. So it's hard. I do think it's the hardest thing in sports, but you definitely got to be on time for the fastball, in my opinion.
So the rule changes have been a big controversy the last 3 years, really, since the lockout, and a lot of the rules are tested in the minor leagues and before they're brought to the major leagues. So for you, is there any rules that you like that are new rules, and any rules that you're adamantly against?
Yeah, I love the pitch clock. I think it's great. 3 or 4 years ago, games would take 3 hours and 30 minutes, and you'd call it a short game. And don't get me wrong, I love playing baseball, but games at 7 o'clock, you don't finish till 10:30. I'm there for almost 12 hours a day, which is no complaints again. But now the games are going 2 hours and 30 minutes, and sometimes you get a 2 hour and 15, and now you get a 3 hour game. It's like this game's kind of long, so it's nice. We play so many games. It's nice to sometimes finish the game early, get a real dinner with family, because restaurants are still open now. So I love the pitch clock. The ABS, have you heard about the ABS challenge system, kind of, right? Like the balls and strikes?
A little bit, yeah.
they got like the challenge rule where each team gets 3 challenges. The pitcher, the catcher, or the hitter can call it.
Mhm.
I love that. I love that rule. It takes away all the complaining. So if I got a problem with the umpire and he's screwing me or whatever, I can just challenge it. If I'm right, it goes my way, and if I'm wrong, I can't complain. I gotta shut up and swallow my tongue for a little bit. So I enjoy the challenge system. I enjoy the pitch clock. I really do enjoy all the new rules. I adapt to them pretty quick, pretty easy, as well as most of my teammates do. So I think it's going to be hopefully in the major leagues in the next 2 or 3 years. The challenge system, the pitch clock's already there.
Well, my partner over here, he likes to swallow tongues. So, just like you like to swallow your tongue. Speedy likes to swallow his. But the Rangers, I'm very surprised that the Rangers didn't make the playoffs this year. They won the World Series last year. Bruce Bochy, who I think is one of the best managers in baseball history. He's been in the World Series with 3 different teams. How many managers have ever done that? I think he's the first to ever do that and win it with 2 different teams. It's pretty incredible what he has done. Why do you think they didn't make the playoffs this year? And what do they need to do in the offseason that can make them a contender again?
Yeah, good question. Have you heard of the Bochy effect?
No, but you can give me the Bochy.
I got you right here.
The Broski
This is
effect.
no the Bochy.
I know. I call
manager.
it the Broski. Let's call it the Broski.
Gotcha. The Broski effect. Okay, this is crazy. When Bochy won his first ring with the Giants, they won 3 in 5 years. They won it the next year below 500. The next year they won it. The next year below 500. The next year they won it. So if the Bochy effect is in play with the Rangers, then I think this year going under 500, not making it to the playoffs is in a good spot for next year.
I don't know if you've heard this stat before, but before he was with the Rangers, he announced his retirement with the Giants. During the season, at one point, he had a career managerial record of 1995 and 2019, which would have been the same year as he would have spanned managing. And I said,
that is crazy.
Who needs 2,000 wins? That is a much better stat. He should have just retired after that game. I think it was in August or something like that. Just retire after that game. It would have been one of the coolest things. So
that would have been crazy.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about some of the younger players. I think you have experience playing with them in the minor leagues too. Evan Carter was a big prospect for them. I think he was up and down between the majors and the minors this year. You saw somebody like Josh Smith play very well. Josh Young was a good rookie last year on the World Series team. So what is it like playing with them, and what are some of your impressions of them as players and teammates?
Yeah, it's cool. I'm hoping Evan can get healthy. I know he struggled this year with a bunch of injuries. So hopefully Evan gets healthy because he's crazy athletic, crazy talent. And also a really good kid, really good dude, comes from a good family. So you root for Evan. Played with Smitty for a year in AA and then played against him in college. Also another great dude, comes from a great family. So it was really cool to see him have his first real success in the majors this year. I think his first year and a half. Not like a struggle, just he didn't get consistent at bats, and it's tough going from playing every day in the minor leagues to okay, you're batting 2-hole, 3-hole. Now you go to the majors and you're hitting 7, 8, 9. You're playing Tuesday, Friday, Sunday. Nothing gets in a rhythm for him. And so it was really cool to see him this year get that rhythm, have that consistency. And y'all saw what he did when he got that. So kudos to Josh for taking advantage of an opportunity when he got it. And then Josh Young's a stud. He's been a stud since he got drafted. And just hopefully he can have a healthy a full year of health, good off season with some more health, and then he comes back ready to bang next year.
We are talking to Texas Rangers AAA infielder Jax Biggers. You've been playing in the minor leagues for a little while. Who's been the most impressive player you've seen in the last couple of years, and even this year? And who do you think that you've seen this year is a future star in the major leagues?
The most impressive players that I saw in 2021, it was Bobby Witt's first full season in the minor leagues. So he was 18, 19 in AA. I was 23 or 24, give or take. And it was stupid. He was hitting balls off batter's eyes, and I was like, this kid's supposed to be a freshman in college, and he's doing things that nobody on the field could do but him. And then the year after that, I played against Corbin Carroll for a full season, and he had a crazy year. So those two are the most impressive I got to see for a full season. Just like the things they did were just everything was electric. I don't know. It's just like you can't really describe it. Just they're different. And then what was the last question?
And
This year, who do I think?
This year, who did you see this year that was the most impressive, and who do you think is a future star in the majors?
Let's see. The Astros had or the Sugarland, their AAA team, Shea Whitcomb, which he ended up debuting this year, the Astros, but he was in the minors, I think, for like majority of the first half or like majority of the whole year. But his year was crazy. I think he hit like 30 homers in Sugarland where the ball doesn't fly very well. But it felt like every time he was up to the plate, he hit the ball hard. So I give to Shea. I think he'll translate to the big leagues very well and continue to hit.
So my team, the Mets, have a guy that used to be in the Rangers farm system with Luis Angel Acuna.
Oh yeah, Louis.
I don't know if you've had any experiences with him, but if you have, what is he like as a teammate? And are you surprised that he came up with the Mets and played well at the end of the year?
Yeah, I played with Louis last year he got traded when we were in Double-A together from the Rangers to the Mets for Scherzer. And so I was there on the day he got traded. It was cool because I was playing about 4 out of 6 games a week, 3 to 4 games a week, and then he gets traded, and now I'm playing 5 to 6 games a week. So I was happy for Louis because it's a great opportunity for him. We knew he was going to be in the big leagues as soon as possible, which ended up being this year. And I'm surprised at what he did just because, like, it's unheard of. It's like, it happened so quick. But I never thought he couldn't do it. He hits balls super hard. He's extremely fast. Like, his game just plays really well at every level. And I hope he gets to enjoy the playoff experience. But he was fun to play with. He's fun to watch. His English is getting better, but it wasn't very good back then. So not a ton of conversations as far as like real meaningful conversations. Just kind of like you yell out Louis or whatever, and they call me Topo, all the Latin. So he would yell out Topo, and that would kind of be our way of communicating.
Jax, you obviously been in the minors for a while, and usually when you're in AAA, you're right there on a borderline of making it to the majors. Do you see yourself in the next year or year and a half where you're going to get that call up, where you're going to get the opportunity to step up to the plate and get your opportunity to swing at top Major League Baseball pitchers?
We'll see. I'll be, if I ever do get that chance, that opportunity, I'll for sure be ready for it. But the Rangers got a good team, so there's not a lot of room up there, and I understand that. But if I ever do get the chance, I'll be ready for it.
So you also look at the versatility now. You play 3 different positions in AAA, and we've seen a lot of these combinations of guys playing first base and corner outfield or center field and shortstop. So I think some of the Royals have a couple of guys that could do that, and some of the other teams left in the playoffs. Like, do you think versatility is something that really matters in today's game when judging these prospects just to get the bats in the lineup?
I think it does for that last point right there of getting certain guys in the lineup. So if you got a guy who's a really good shortstop like Louis. Louis is not going to play over Lindor. It's just, they're paying Lindor too much money for that to ever happen. And so, Lindor gets hurt and Louis goes up there, fills his shoes for, the time while he's hurt, ends up playing really well. It's like, okay, well, he can play second and third. So let's plug him in at second. And just to give Louis, it just adds more golf clubs to his bag. And, the more clubs you got, the more shots you can take. So I think it's a huge deal. But I think once you solidify yourself as, a star in the show, you'll stick at one spot. But I think to get up there for guys who aren't like a superstar potential, like me or whoever, has to play multiple spots and be good at playing those spots.
Well, the Yankees, Volpe just robbed a base hit, and Witt is on first base. And his kind of speed, that was an unbelievable catch.
That was a nice play. Yeah,
that was a beautiful play. He read it.
You're ahead of me. You're ahead of me by like 7 seconds.
Oh, we're in New York.
An hour and 7 seconds. You're ahead of me.
Time zone differences, streaming, yeah, same thing. It sounds about right.
Are y'all Yankee fans or Mets fans? Or
I'm a Mets fan. He's a Yankee fan.
I'm a Yankee fan, but I'm a radio guy. So when
You want to hear a cool Met fact?
Go
Mets
ahead.
fact?
Let's hear it.
So the Mets beat the Brewers in the playoffs this past week.
Mhm.
Every team that beats the Brewers in the playoffs goes to the World Series.
I like it.
And now they're
Your
only one round
superstitions
away.
going.
So they're only one round away. Maybe it lasts longer. We'll see.
Well, you know what lasts longer? Not watching Perez come up to the plate. Okay, this guy kills the Yankees.